What's up everybody? Welcome to this episode of Sunday Driver. This one has been a long time coming. I've teased and talked about this car a lot, and it's been hiding and lurking in the background for a lot of different shots, but time to finally introduce it. I do apologize, there's a street behind us, so you might hear some road noise, but let's start at the beginning. Okay, so senior year of high school, I was looking for a car, and it came down to an NA MX-5, Porsche 944, and the Datsun Z car. Had to be one of those three. Had to be front engine, manual, rear wheel drive, cool, a little bit older, cheap enough that I could afford. So those are the ones that I landed on. And I'll put a link to it below, but as soon as I saw this video from Petrolicious, I knew like the other ones were just out right away. It had to be that car. In that video you'll see he has like a stroker motor with a triple carb setup and the big circle. That was kind of the influence for what I did on the MX-5. So that's where it started. Once I had saved up enough and spent, well, even when I had the money, there wasn't like a good car for me to go and buy and start out on. So I probably spent 6 or 7 months looking for a good one, and I finally landed on one where the body was okay, but it needed a ton of work. You could tell whoever had it before either wasn't driving it a lot or they just didn't care about it much, but I spent a bunch of time basically modding and prepping that one the whole time for power. That was the whole goal. Instead of doing the swap right up front, I wanted to have the car as set and ready to go for power, so that once it was in there, it just felt like a complete car. So I did rear disc conversion. When I was driving the drums, you would drive, and anytime you hit the brake, they'd just lock up almost instantly, especially on the tiny tires I was with. So we did the rear disc conversion. We did headers, full exhaust. Big front brake kits. I went to coilovers, and when I took out the old shocks, you could take 2 fingers like this and just compress the shocks like nothing. So it was riding basically entirely on springs. So going to a coilover setup on this car made like a huge difference. I went a little bit too stiff. I think I did 7K front, 6K rear, which ended up being too stiff. So eventually I'd like to revalve and put in a new set of springs for those. But so I was using it as a daily driver. The blue car, it almost always got me there. It left me stranded 2 or 3 times, which ended up being like once a year, which for something daily driving, a car that's 50 years old, I thought it was okay. I could work with that. But one day I was driving to, just to drive to work, not even going for a mountain drive or anything, and the defrosters on the last car didn't work well, and it was a cold morning, so it was a little bit frosty, and then as soon as I turned the corner, it was like the light was shining directly into it. It was winter time, first thing in the morning, so low sun, and it was like I might as well have been looking at an orange piece of paper trying to go up this road. So I was trying to look like underneath it, put my head out the window, but unfortunately I ended up going into the rear end of another car in front of me just because I was completely blind and I wasn't quite ready for it. So, that car, the blue car, was done. I took every single nut and bolt off of that car, and like we talked about in the previous video with the orange 240Z, that car got bought by a customer in a shop called Original Garage Builds, and I'm hoping that that one's still out there getting built into the race car that I talked about with the next owner. But, so that left me with a ton of parts and a broken heart. So I think I went about a year, maybe a little less, without a Z, and I was always looking for him. But this one I saw popped up all the way up in Oregon, and it had like a stroker V8 in it. I think it was a 383, and he said it was making like 500 horsepower. So he said you can either buy it just the chassis or with the motor, but that'll be $8 grand less. So that's what I did. We got it on the trailer, brought it all the way down, and I think including like my gas and buying the car and the taxes and everything, I think it was like 3,500 bucks, which around now is a pretty good price. These things are getting crazy expensive, so if you do want one, I'd say get them while you can, because they're going for the buku bucks now. That brings us up to today. I've had it sitting on jack stands for like almost 2 years. It's just been kind of on the back burner. I got the S13, and then I got the MX-5, and those have been more of the focus, and this is just kind of sitting around, but it is finally time. I want to drive this thing so bad, and even just seeing on the ground today is like inspiration to get to the next level. So without further ado, let's go do the walkthrough of the whole car, see what we've got. So this car was a Pacific Northwest car its whole life as far as I know, and if you were on a countrywide search for a car, especially an older car from Japan, I would say do not do that. Try to go to like Arizona, New Mexico, California and get a car from there, because you're gonna have the least amount of issues with rust. You know, sun damage stuff like paint, that's manageable. Rust is much more expensive and much more difficult to deal with, but let's dive into it. We'll go from just the front to the back. So this car came with this like plexiglass air dam. You know, it's a pretty cool look. I think if I remember right, this one is called the Type 3. We'll see if I end up with it or not. I really like the look of the BRE front air dam over the stock fenders. But so this car, so this is the L26. This is what was in the blue car, which is the last one. And we did some minor stuff to it, like we redid the head. The SUs have been gone through. I have the filters off right now, but 6:1 header down to a 3-inch all the way back, which is actually off the car. But this is a fun one. This car actually comes with line lock, which is one of the most hilarious things. When he got it, he told me that with the tires that they were running, with the horsepower that it had, that this car would do burnouts at 100. So it was a pretty rowdy car before. But going back, I'm not sure if the previous owner did it or the people before them, but they cut massive holes in both sides of the fender. That one's just blocked off because I was painting the fender well. But, you know, it's not pretty, but I don't think it needs to be adjusted right away. But that's definitely something I'm going to want to address. The car right now is like a rattle can black. So let's go through this. This car was born in 1972 as Mexican orange. That was the original color, single stage from Datsun. And then it was painted yellow. Might be able to see it better here. Okay, it was painted yellow. And then the guy I got it from didn't like it, so I'm pretty sure he just rattle canned the whole thing black. With the previous car, which these doors are off of, that car was born as, let's see, so on that side you can see that color is called 115, and that's from Datsun. And then the people I got that car from painted it this blue color, which I actually liked a lot. So you can see this is from when Copart had the car, everything that they marked off. But these doors were in pretty good shape actually, so we're hanging on to those, and then the other ones got shipped off to another build that they're working on. But moving even further back, the problem areas of this car are going to be basically the whole underside. There is a lot of rust. So this corner, yeah, there's nothing left there. So one of the first things that I want to address with thing is just the basic metal work. I want to get these rocker arms and especially the floors dealt with. You can see it's pretty dark in here, but the floors got like all dented in and they've got rust holes in them, and he did these horrible fiberglass patches. So the floors are a mixture of rust and fiberglass, which is just not going to work out. I'm thinking instead of doing the replacement seat rails that I'm gonna go in and just make custom ones or either bolted into the floor. I'm planning on using this car on the track, so I want it to be able, and I'm pretty tall, so I want it to be able to fit, especially with a helmet. So I'm thinking about just bolting to the floor. But moving back, this hatch is in pretty good condition, so we may hang on to that hatch. But here is the party piece. Yeah. That's a lot of rust, folks. So this is going to be the biggest area, probably the most expensive area for us to do. And they put these 280 tails on. I'm definitely going to go back to the 240s. I just think it's a better look. So, and this bottom piece is not the original. It's just like a flat sheet of metal with poopy welds. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're working with. I've got a bunch of good parts that came off of the last car that are ready to go onto this car. So that's what we're going to be doing. And then after that, I mean, big long-term goals. I want this thing to go through a full paint color change. I want to get rid of all of the different layers of paint. It's either going to go RB25 or 1JZ. I've wanted one of those motors forever, and especially just the 6-cylinder sound in this big long engine bay. It's just my absolute favorite combo. If you haven't been watching that Petrolicious videos, these wheels are basically because of that video, and it's the classic Datsun look. These wheels were actually designed by Watanabe for the Z car originally, and they ended up just looking great on like pretty much any small car, especially out of Japan. But after that, doing not a full cage, but just a half cage, including a roll bar, just so it's a little bit safer. I know that accidents can happen and you can crash. So, and also it'll help stiffen up the car. I mean, it's the better part of 50 years old now, so it's not exactly the stiffest chassis anymore, especially with the amount of rust that it has. So that's basically the plan for this car. We're getting everything, all the good parts that I have now, we're gonna be getting on there, and then after that, adding new ones. I have a ton of cool plans for this car, and you know, with anybody, any car guy anyways, there's certain cars that come and go and they're fun to have for a while, and I think the MX-5 will probably be that. But this car I want to build and I want to keep it forever. Like, so many good memories in this car, and yeah, so that's the plan. Let me know what you guys think about the builds, any cool parts that might be good, any cool companies to work with. I'm really open to anything at this point, but we're looking to get grinding pretty quick on this. I want to drive it. It's been sitting for too long. So anyways, that's gonna be it for today. I just wanted to give a walkthrough and introduce this car to the channel. Anyways, just like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you think there's any cool parts there would be to put on this, and I'm hoping that we could set up a meet and actually meet people in person once this thing is up and running and ready to go. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you next time.